Hey, Slay Nation, it's your host Heather back with another episode of the So She Slays podcast. Now, we've had a few of these topics on our show before in regards to cycles, women's hormones, managing them, all this, that, and the others. And it's definitely a topic that is still quite obviously relevant. But I found a study, actually, like a survey done in 2023. It was done by Parallel, and it said that 48.9% of women who did the survey don't have a proper understanding of their menstrual cycle. Now, that's like 50%, y'all. That's not okay. And we already know that the healthcare system, the educational system has really just failed us when it came to explaining phases of your menstrual cycle. And I myself, you've heard me talk about this subject tons and tons of times on the podcast and my own personal journey with trying to figure out what the hell is happening with my body. And I know there's a lot of people who are like, Heather, I know the menstrual cycle, but I don't really know the menstrual cycle. Yeah, same. Right there with you. Quick Google search, let me just hop it into Claude real fast and be like, can you explain this to me? So today's guest, we have Paige. Now, she is a certified hormone specialist. She is a holistic nutritionist. She has a little over 500,000 followers across her social platforms, and she's also, oh my God, author of a cookbook. And Sink and Savor is out right now, and it's about syncing and like syncing your period with what you eat and like vice versa and how that helps. Now, I know you guys have seen it in the feed that there's all sorts of things like, oh, maybe you should eat like red meat because like iron, and like maybe you should have sweet potatoes and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get into that, but we're also going to break down what the hell you should actually know about your cycle, because that only informs the other half. So, Paige, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy to have you here and to kind of like pick your brain with all the knowledge that you know about this subject. But before we hop in, give us a little quick rundown about how we even got here.
Yeah, I know. I feel like no one knows about their hormone health unless like you go through a whole journey. But you're so right what you were saying. The fact that half of women don't know what's going on with their body is insane, especially like thinking back to health class in like 7th grade. I learned so much about like random things guys go through and like just those random things that I'm like, I don't necessarily need to know. I should have known that my body's changing every single day, every single week. So that's just insane that I didn't know those numbers. And yeah, we need more education out there. But me personally, I've had an autoimmune disease since I was 9. It affected my hormone health immediately once I got my cycle at 13. Pretty immediate PCOS diagnosis, struggling with energy, gut issues, just everything my whole life until really learning about nutrition, hormone health, how things change daily, how I can support my blood sugar, how I can support my energy, how I shouldn't be pushing my body the same every single day. And that's like what made everything click for me. Like truthfully, 10 years, like from 13 to 23, not feeling good to the past few years feeling really good. Like this is what's worked for me. So yeah, it was a long journey to get there, but now I'm here.
Yeah, no, but I feel like that journey in itself is so relatable. And I think a lot of the times people just, women just kind of like, oh, this is just how it is. The horrible cramps, the mood swings, the migraines, or whatever it may be that you go through, in your cycle. And like part of us, because it's so different all the time for everyone, part of us are just like, maybe it is just normal. Like, no one can give me a fucking answer.
No, it's totally normal. Also, you go to your doctor and they say it's normal. I feel like up until my 20s, till I met someone who really listened to me, they're just like, yeah, it's part of being a woman. You just don't feel good. This is what's happening. Or they don't even say this is what's happening. It's just, yeah, you get your period or you're PMSing. You get bad migraines, you get bad mood swings. That's just what's happening. That's just what it is. My mom would be like, yeah, like that's just part of being a woman. And no one tells you there's things you can do so you don't need to be struggling that bad. Like, yes, there's always going to be fluctuations. And I think a huge part of it also is understanding those fluctuations, because I remember in high school being like, wait, I was like happy last week. Things were good. I was feeling good. Why do I feel like a completely different human this week? And getting like really in my head about like, is there something wrong with me? Because how do I feel so different this week than last week? And not even realizing that like hormones fluctuate. So I think so much goes into it, but just even having that understanding makes you be like, oh yeah, my hormones are fluctuating a little. My progesterone's low. Of course I'm a little bit more moody or whatever. That's fine. You know?
Yeah, you know how I always describe this too, and before we dive into like getting into exactly what these stages are here, I always explain it like, because you know, I have a significant other and then I have a lot of friends that are guys, right? And they just like, you know, they kind of get it. At least like with my friend group, they're like willing to try and understand. And so I try to explain it where I'm like, okay, you know, when it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock every single day, and you're kind of tired, you don't really want to do a whole lot. And then it gets later in the evening and you're just like, yo, I'm tired. I need to go to bed. You're like short on patience. You're a little cranky. I go, that is us for like a week. You want to double up the second week when we're actually, you know, shedding our innards. Like it's a whole ass thing. So just imagine that. But like it lasts a whole week. You don't get to wake up and feel better. You just wake up and feel the same.
Which is crazy. Yeah, they're just on a 24-hour, just same cycle. But that is such a good analogy and way to explain it to guys, because it is true. Like their hormones do change within 24 hours, similar to what ours over 28 days does. But yeah, they just wake up and they know they're going to be like snapped into place. And
Yeah,
ours
they wake up and they're like, I'm great.
I mean, the luteal phase
like,
is 2 weeks long, basically. I mean, some a little shorter, but that's half the month. You're either over half the month you're in your luteal phase and on your period. Like, oh, half the month you're not feeling your very best, which is
right. Exactly. And that's what I said. I was like, I got 2 weeks where things are jamming, and then I got 2 weeks where shit sucks. So
yep. Yep.
I'm like, it's I got 2 weeks to make things happen. All right. The other ones that we just don't move as fast. Okay, so for for everyone listening and watching, let's talk about the stages. We don't need to go into a dissertation, but like for those of us who are like, Heather, I kind of know, but like I kind of don't.
Yeah.
Can you explain this to me? Let's give the, you know, Claude AI version of this.
Right. The spark notes. I know people tend to know the period. I think recently people know what the luteal phase is, but back in the day it was like PMS period. Mm-hmm. And then people, if they were trying to get pregnant, some people would understand like ovulation. Or those are just like the ones that were recognizable, mm-hmm. kind of. Not even really knowing what that means. But yeah, we'll start with period because that's what everyone knows, and that's just day 1 of your cycle. Easy to know when that is. That's the day you start bleeding. Typically lasts about 5 days, but everyone has a different length cycle. But that is when the beginning of your cycle, you're shedding, your hormones are at their lowest, absolute lowest. And that's why day 1 or 2 of your cycle, you're just in bed. You're like, what's wrong? Your body's doing so much. I got down a rabbit hole last week because I saw a TikTok and it was like kind of like a graphic of what's happening like when you're releasing everything like inside your body. It's kind of weird to see.
Oh my gosh, have you seen those like AI ones?
Yeah,
those AI ones that like literally, and I'm like, oh.
And I was like, wait, is this feel real? Like shit. I know, exactly. So then I started looking up like, is this real? And then I looked at all these other videos. Wait, that's insane that's happening in our body. And we're just expected to like walk and act like nothing's happening. Our body's doing a lot of release and that's tiring. But our hormones are low. low hormones. We'll get into like what low hormones and high like feel like, but day one of your cycle, we know the period. We're losing iron, obviously. That's why some nutritional, advice would be like iron, red meat or beans, whatever source of iron you can get. Spinach, there's so many different sources of iron, is important just because you're already so depleted in so many ways. You don't want low iron affecting that either. But we can go into all the tips after. From menstrual phase, the day that your period ends is the day your follicular phase starts. That means this is like when this is the 2 weeks you're talking about where you're like, oh, I'm like starting to feel myself again. The hormone levels are raising. The end of your period, they start raising, and you're like going to start feeling better halfway through your menstrual week usually. But follicular phase, your hormones are like usually exactly where you like to see them on a chart, like where they're just optimal for feeling good. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be feeling more creative. You're going to be feeling more motivated. It's the weeks that I was talking about where I'm like, oh, I was so good last week. Like, what happened? After follicular phase, your ovulatory phase starts. Very short window. This is the phase that you can become pregnant in. It's the phase that your hormones are absolutely peaking. So again, you might be feeling really good, really motivated, sex drive hot, everything just great. Some people who maybe have a little bit of, or people who struggle with estrogen dominance might have some symptoms there. And that's why I'll give some tips on what we can be doing during our ovulatory phase to make sure our hormones are processing and clearing correctly. But again, very short window. Right after the ovulatory phase, this is around day 17. So day 1 is the day you start bleeding. Day 17, that's where we're at now. Like when the ovulatory phase ends is where your luteal phase starts. And this is where the hormones are going to slowly start declining again, preparing you for your menstrual phase in about 2 weeks again, or a week and a half. At the beginning of your luteal phase, you'll be feeling fine. It's as your hormones continue to decrease, prepare for the shedding, that a lot of people have those PMS symptoms that we know of, like fatigue and bloating, digestion, and water retention. This is because of a dip in hormones. And then we're back to square one. Yeah.
My question with all of this is like, we have these 4 different phases and we can definitely tell like how we're feeling, this and the other. But part of me is just kind of like, I mean, you can take a trip down freaking all the socials like you did and like I did, where it's like, what exactly is happening in the inside? Because obviously we can't see what's happening, but like we know it doesn't feel great. But I almost implore you, I mean, if it can be a little gross if you're grossed out by bodily functions, but it's like you're like, oh, I found it almost enlightening because I was like, that is why it freaking hurts.
Yes. That's why it hurts. That's what I'm feeling when I'm like all of a sudden grabbing my stomach. That's what's happening. And I agree. It is like a little bit like, whoa, like if you're like bodily functioning. But if you can like get over it, it's so interesting to know what's happening in your body. And it really gives you that like, oh, like I'm fine. Like I can relax. I'm not crazy. Like the pain is here for, I don't know. It gives that validation kind of in a way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It totally gives that validation. So I implore you, because I think it's going to be so enlightening to just, you're on TikTok or Insta or whatever anyways. You just like type it in. It's so enlightening, I swear.
It is. It's crazy.
What do you think is like, I feel like women are told so many different things when it comes to their period and their menstrual cycles. Like, what are like the top myths that people, or that you have seen, that maybe you've experienced yourself, that you're like, this is not it. Like, this is not what it is. Something else is happening. And like, what are those myths that a lot of women just like fall for?
Let's see. I first thought of my like 2 completely polar opposite things came up, and I think we need to like land somewhere in the middle. But myths when I was younger, and then myths with all social media tips now. Completely different.
Yes.
Myths when I was younger was that like your period week is just another week and you keep doing everything the exact same. Like I used to be really into like HIIT workout classes and running and weights and all this stuff, and I would do it the exact same. I would work out the exact same every single day for the whole month. And yeah, I was just like, oh, it's your period week. Okay, like keep acting like you acted last week, keep acting like you act next week. You don't need to make any changes to support your body because it's just another week. I think that was a myth growing up, like you push through. Then I think swung a completely different way. And not everyone sees this with it's a side of social media. I see probably because of my job and my algorithm, where there's also the whole other side of like, it's your period, like just don't do anything and call off, like you don't need to be working out at all, and you can just like lay on the couch all day and completely change your life around to support this week. Say no to plans and don't make any creative decisions this week. Like I've seen so many things like that where it's like, gosh, like do nothing. Like you can control that, you can just like not work that week, or like I don't know, like life we have kids, we have commitments. There was a book I read that it was just really like that. I'm like, a lot of us don't have the most actually of the world can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to disappear this week and just fully take care of myself. I think it's like finding the balance in the middle, which all just comes from education, knowing yourself, and then knowing how to actually listen to your body. I think we've gotten so disconnected just because we've been taught to like push through everything and ignore symptoms and ignore signs and ignore cravings, when all of those are information, like our body telling us what we needed or what we need. And I think, yeah, so I guess those are like two completely different myths. I'm like, no, like we can be in the middle. We can like support our body. We can find tools that work. It doesn't need to be so extreme on either way, on either end.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really just depends too on like what exactly you're feeling, because that's like one of the things too, right? That like a lot of doctors, and like why research hasn't been done when it comes to women's health, is because everybody is so different. And I mean, think about it. If your period is different from every single month, like last month I had the worst cramps of my life. It was horrible. I did not like that. But the month prior, no cramps. No cramps at all. So it was like, just imagine it's like, you learned back in science class that it's, you want to like a variable and something that's like definitely like something that stays the same and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's all these different things that happen. So it's like, I understand why there hasn't been a whole lot of research in this, because we don't necessarily fit the mold, right? Not that that's a freaking excuse by any means. Because get your shit together. It's 2026, people.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, it's really, really hard. And I think a lot of the times that it's only recently that I think women, it's ourselves, have just been like, hey, you cannot sit here and tell me that this is fucking normal. Like, this is not. I think women have finally gotten to the point where like they're pushing back and they're like, this shit's not normal.
I am so glad, because we're like going to male doctors who just aren't ever in their whole life going to understand what it's like to be in our body. They can understand the science and all of that. They're not going to know what it feels like. And I'm so glad, and I think this is through social media and more conversations like this, that women are like, okay, yeah, I know my doctor said I'm fine. I know myself. I know I'm not. I'm going to go push further. But back to what you were saying, there is no cookie cutter, like, this is going to help you, this is going to not. Because not only are we all so different, some people with their hormones, it really comes out through their skin or their digestion or their mood. It's different for everyone. Not only is it different for everyone, it's different for us every single month. And it'd be so easy if there was like, yeah, this is the one thing you do and the one thing you don't do, and this helps your hormone health. But we're so complex. But there are things that in general, focusing on certain foundations, no matter what, will help everything. Maybe it's not going to get rid of all your symptoms. Maybe you're still going to have, or you're for sure going to still have fluctuations. But like, for instance, I, like three months ago, like my cycles have been pretty great for like a little bit, just because I do like know so much about hormone health and really treat this. I mean, this is my job. But 3 months ago, I was going through like kind of like a breakup situation, so much more stress than normal. And I like didn't even put together at all because I'm like trying, like whatever. Didn't even put together out my next cycle after that. I was like, what? I've never had cramps like that since maybe middle school. The most insane cramps of my life. I so fatigued. I mean, truly it was probably one of the worst periods I've maybe ever had, or I've had that I remembered. And
Wow.
it made me be like, oh, this stress. And this is stress I can't control. I mean, like life happens. But the fact that I was still doing everything right for my cycle that I knew, but the impact of stress on our hormones and our cycle, and how something that happened 3 weeks ago is going to come out in my cycle the next time I have my period is insane. So one thing we all can be doing is managing stress. And that's not by just like going to therapy and avoiding stressful situations. It's through blood sugar balance. It's through lowering screen time. It's through saying no to different relationships that are causing overwhelm. There's so much.
Stressful.
Yes, yes. But that, so like, yeah, there's so many individualized things that we need to do, and that's about learning your own body and stuff. But then there's overarching themes that we can do that's going to make everyone's hormone health and just overall health better.
Yes. So that leads me to my next question is to like, let's talk about those overarching themes, right? Like stress definitely, because that's a thing I didn't notice either, because I went to TikTok and I was like, yo, why is 1 month fine? And then the other month, I'm just like hanging on for dear life. What happened?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, oh, no, it's what you eat, it's what you're going through, it's this, and this, or whatever. And I'm not even going to say none of those answers were correct, because they probably were all correct to a certain degree. This is why science and like people don't like us in that arena, because yes to all of the above. What I would love to know a little bit more about of is like, okay, these overarching themes, like what are the things that we should actually just be like taking into account, and knowing that what we do like 3 weeks before our period actually affects our period.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, stuff's going to happen. You can't control an event that's going to happen, and a stressful this or news you didn't want to hear. Like, it's not about completely avoiding stress, but it's what are the things in my control that I can lower the stress there, so that things out of my control, like, have my body has room to process it, kind of. Because if you're okay, there's like so many things. Like for instance, blood sugar balance. Like, I could talk about all this stuff for so long. Blood sugar balance is huge for stress, and that's something I think a lot of people don't understand. But if your blood sugar is not balanced, your cortisol spiking, your body feels so unsafe, and you could literally be on vacation, relaxed, having nothing bad going on at all, but your body could be feeling stressed because it's underfueled, or a blood sugar roller coaster. So things on our control would first and foremost be supporting our blood sugar through the day. We can control what we eat in the morning, when we eat in the morning, what we put on our plate. Again, not being perfect, there's so much room for flexibility. But if 80% of the time you're supporting your blood sugar and health, you're keeping your stress levels in your body at a healthy amount. So for me, that's breakfast within an hour of waking up. And again, different ages, different times, people can go through different things. I used to intermittent fast when I was younger. I felt fine for a while. Then I felt so depleted. And I learned that having protein within an hour of waking up for me, protein and glucose, like protein and carbs, was the best thing. My body, all of a sudden, I'm like waking up in the morning. I'm able to get out of bed. My brain fog's immediately cleared. I have energy to like go on a walk or go work out. Also, like later in the day, I'm not starving. I feel like that was something. I'd not be hungry in the morning. I'd be intermittent fasting. I'd have my first meal and then it would like, I'm starving and I like need to eat so much throughout the whole day. I mean, in so many ways, eating protein in the morning is eating food in the morning is immediately letting your body know I'm safe, I'm fueled, I'm supported, and it's setting up your blood sugar for the day, and it's setting up your cortisol for the day. So that's an overlooked stress factor. I think a lot of people don't know, who are just having coffee, which is a stimulant, and not eating, and maybe just like snacking and grazing throughout the day. Unfortunately, that's actually really raising your stress and your cortisol in your body. That's one thing. Another stress factor that I think is newer and overlooked is, like, you and I have jobs on our phone and computer, and everyone's like working in front of a screen. Yeah. Again, like, that's our job. We can't just say like, oh, I'm gonna go move on a farm and like throw my computer and phone away. It's just not realistic. But like the blue light exposure isn't normal for us. Like, blue blocking glasses could be great, but not just that. I think it's having this awareness that this is something that, again, this is so new because TikTok is only like 5 years old, 4 years old, where you can be seeing all that's going on all around the world, and like, honestly, like intense and scary videos and things that like really spike your stress. I mean, then you turn on the news and you're just getting filled with so much information and stimulation that I just almost feel like, and this is like a hypothesis, but I almost feel like, since this is also new, the screens, the social media, the having access to everything that's going on in the world, like, our bodies might have a hard time separating, like, no, I'm home in my house safe, this isn't happening to me, versus, oh, I'm there too. Like, seeing, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think that's something I've been trying to be a little bit more aware of recently, because I do think it's hard for our body to know, our mind seeing something, but how do we know we're not there? Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's a whole stress factor that I think is newer in this generation, just because now we have social media, access to literally seeing everything. Those are like the top two things I'm like, oh, these are in our control. What we eat, how we eat, and what we're exposing ourselves to in our house are like two of the easiest things that we can be doing. That might be, it's so easy to just like doom scroll and sip coffee and like not, and like to get your food throughout the day, not realizing that that's both of those are extreme stressors on your body, you know?
So that makes me say, okay, now that we talked a little bit about environmental stuff and like obviously being sure to like eat right and like not fast and like all this kind of stuff, what are the things, like, can you give me like the top 2 or 3 things in each phase that we should be eating?
Yeah, absolutely. In our menstrual phase, I kind of mentioned this, but obviously we're losing blood. Obviously we need to be replenishing our iron stores. So I do great with red meat. I feel great with red meat. My body craves it. Not everyone does. There's totally forms of plant-based iron that you can be eating, you can be supplementing, but it is really important that during the end of your period, or the end of your luteal phase, like right before your period and during your period, you are increasing the iron, because overall it's just going to help your energy when we're feeling that dip before our period and on our period. It's just going to help stabilize that a bit. So definitely iron is a huge thing. And then complex carbs is huge in our luteal phase. So you've seen the video, and I bet everyone listening to this is going to look up the video of like what's happening when we're shedding. In our luteal phase, it's insane. In our luteal phase, we actually are burning about 300 more calories at rest, doing nothing. And that's why also people are like, oh, I'm so hungry, like PMS, I'm so starving. And we're actually burning more. Our body, our metabolic rate rises, warming, so much is happening in our body. Like, let's fuel that. You don't need to just ignore that. Let's fuel that. But because more is happening, complex carbs like I love like white rice. I like doing bone broth rice, sweet potatoes, fruit, regular potatoes, just good warming complex carbs not only are filling, but they're fuel. It's glucose. It gives your body energy to be doing all of this. So
Mm-hmm.
the two things that help with energy, just because I feel like that's a lot of people's main thing during like luteal phase period is like an energy thing. And
Yeah.
iron and complex carbs, great for that. And then also the other thing in those two phases, because a lot of the tips for luteal and menstrual are the same, and follicular and ovulatory are the same. But luteal menstrual, a lot of also people complain about like cramping and stomach stuff and
Mm.
warming foods. Like think of it like a heating pad from within. Like we put a heating pad on our stomach, let's put a heating pad in there. Eating warming, like well cooked foods is another great tip because not only is it easier to digest, but it really does like warm you from the inside. And that would be my top three: warming foods, iron, good complex carbs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for those are like your luteal and your menstrual phases, right? Are there things that we should be incorporating in the other two phases
Yeah.
that maybe would help us a little bit, like to maybe not have, the worst period of our lives?
Right. Okay. Also, like I said, that there are three things, but now I'm also like, okay, there's a few other things that I really make sure, and I have this all in the book in like such an easier way to like read and understand. I'll send you a copy if you haven't gotten it yet. But
Yeah.
magnesium is another huge nutrient that we should eat.
Ooh.
If we're not supplementing, we should be if we're not eating it, we should be supplementing it. Magnesium is in cacao. I think that's like one of the real reasons our body craves chocolate before our period, because like I need magnesium, and there's a lot of magnesium in
Mm-hmm.
cacao and dark chocolate. And magnesium is going to really help minimize the cramps as well and relax the muscles so there's not as many contractions. So, supplementing or eating your magnesium. Also, like Epsom salt baths, because there's magnesium in that, can really help during that phase as far as cramps go.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just like relaxing the muscles. That's what magnesium does. And then another big one is, for me, I'd say like my main symptom I still kind of get around my cycle is like water retention. And so upping the potassium
Yeah.
has been like the game changer for me. So I just do that. We know bananas are high in potassium, sweet potatoes are high in potassium. I have a sweet potato brownie recipe I make every single month because you're getting sweet potato, then you're getting cacao in there for your magnesium. And I swear, without ever having any symptoms, I eat these brownies and I'm better. It's actually crazy. It could be placebo, but I think it's just they're so nutrient that actually make a difference. Um, and coconut water. Coconut water has really great potassium. So potassium, magnesium, kind of name of the game in the luteal phase and menstrual phase. Then yes,
Okay.
to follicular and ovulatory phase, there's definitely things you can be doing. This is typically when you're feeling your best, you're feeling better, your hormones are raising, you're like, I'm more myself. Not everyone feels better this phase. And supporting over, I mean, I feel better this phase. Do you feel better this phase, or do you ever still have symptoms
I
during?
feel better in this phase. I think I start feeling better like I want to say maybe day 7, like maybe when I like start after, because like my cycle lasts for 7 days, and so
Okay,
my thing is like day 7. By like day 8 or 9, I'm like, ooh, energy, ooh, I want to
there we
do
go.
things, like, and
Yeah,
it's starting to feel a little bit better, I would say, like after day 5, but
yeah,
I don't start noticing a ginormous difference until we're like, yeah, day 8, day 9, day 10, then I'm like, okay, great.
yeah. So you're like, I'm in my follicular phase and ovulatory phase. I'm feeling good. This is when, if you do feel good during this phase, I just urge people to like use that. Like feel good. This is when definitely be pushing yourself in your workouts. Definitely be like, this isn't gonna last forever. So like take advantage because you do know it's a limited window. So this is when I'm typically a little more disciplined with myself. Like, okay, like do this like I'm gonna do this because last week I was my brain fog, just whatever, like I wasn't fully present. So I recommend just like pushing yourself during this time. But some people, estrogen dominance is pretty common now, and I think we've heard like estrogen dominance, like just that term a lot through social media. What does it really mean? All it really means is our two main female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. You could literally have low estrogen and have estrogen dominance if your progesterone is not at the balance that it should be with it. So
Yeah.
you could have estrogen dominance and literally not be making a lot of estrogen. So it's not like everyone is like, I think that's just what people don't know. So a lot of the time, estrogen dominance isn't even about clearing excess estrogen, but it's how can I be raising my progesterone to match a bit? Because, and this is gonna, it's also connected, and this is why it's so like uncookie cutter and whatever, but progesterone lowers from stress. That's the big connection. If you're not creating enough progesterone, it is because stress is pulling it. Your cortisol is pulling it. So the tips I gave for stress and blood sugar and all that stuff is going to help your progesterone production, which is such an amazing hormone. It's what keeps us a little more calm, stable, feminine. It's just so great. Estrogen's also great. And I think everyone's like estrogen dominance and like makes it seem like estrogen's like not this great hormone. It's so great. It's what gives us our drive. It's what gives us like the confidence. It gives us the energy. Like both of them are great. It's just all dependent on the levels they're at with each other, basically, whether you're having symptoms or not. So during this phase, if you are having symptoms, which would be sometimes people get like ovulation cramps, sometimes people struggle with more water retention during this phase or feeling off. Again, maybe not as common with the people I talk to, but definitely common that not everyone feels best. The main thing is like eating fiber a little bit extra during this phase, because fiber is going to clear out excess hormones and toxins and just everything that your body doesn't need. It's not going to pull out estrogen your body does need. It's not going to pull out things your body needs, but it is going to help clear out. I mean, your body knows what to get rid of. So if you are struggling with some estrogen dominance, fiber is the name of the game. I like doing flax seeds on my salads, ground flax seeds in my smoothies. Just like sneaking a pinch of seeds in everywhere is just like the easiest way. You can still be making your own meals the way you want them, but just sneaking in seeds, I feel like it's the easiest way for me to get fiber. I tend to do a lot more like chia pudding during this phase. I think because during like menstrual, I'm having all like the warming like oats and egg dishes and all the warming stuff. And I think when I get to this phase, I'm like, oh, like I am feeling better. I am feeling lighter. I am wanting more fiber. Like chia pudding's easy. A smoothie's easy. Like the lighter foods I tend to gravitate towards more. But then also the lighter foods I gravitate towards more happen to be like pretty high in fiber, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So really fiber in this phase is like my main tip for both these phases, follicular and ovulatory. Yeah.
Love. Okay. So to wrap up this interview, I have a few rapid fire questions. So your menstrual phase or your luteal phase, which one do you actually love more than the other, and like how you're understanding it too?
I was talking about this with my friend yesterday because I got my period yesterday. I was like, thanks God, period. I just feel better immediately. The second I start my period, I just feel better. I think, and she was agreeing. She's like, wait, me too. This is crazy. As far as emotional stuff goes, I think like, oh, like I'm just clear-headed. Life isn't ending like I thought it maybe was last week. I like my period more, even though it's a little bit annoying. I definitely like my period more, and just having the understanding of like, well, my body's doing a lot, and I have a lot of like gratitude that it's doing this. I lost my period for years, and I think anytime someone loses their period, as annoying as the period is, I think it does kind of give you this like sense of gratitude when you have it, because your period is such a vital sign of health. And if you're getting it monthly, it is a sign that your body is doing something right. And being grateful for it, I know it sounds crazy to be grateful for your period, but it shifts things. It shifts things. Yeah.
Definitely. What is one food every woman should be eating more of?
I will say everyone knows the protein thing, so I will say fiber, because not
Mhm.
only does it clear things out, it's one of the main things for blood sugar balance. You need fiber in your day for blood sugar balance, which is going to support your cortisol, your stress, your progesterone. So for me, my favorite ways to get fiber isn't even vegetables, it's seeds and berries. I love raspberries and kiwi, both super high in fiber, and then chia seeds, flax seeds, making protein balls with like different seeds in it, or putting them in my smoothies or my salads, or like sneaking them in anything. Like I make oatmeal cookies and I'll sneak all these seeds in there. Those are my favorite ways to get fiber in.
I would say, okay, the wellness trend you wish would just go away.
Ooh, dang, that's a good one. I feel like there's so many. Um, there's a lot where I just like have to scroll and push like not interested. Um, I mean, I'll give a few things, but really anything that's extreme. I We do not need to be extreme to have healthy hormones. We don't need to be extreme to be healthy, to be at a weight we like, to be considered healthy. Like you don't need to do anything extreme. You don't need to take out any one food. You don't need to work out this or fast that, like nothing extreme is good or sustainable. So anytime you're seeing anything on
Mm.
social media that is like, I could for sure probably do this for like a month or two, I could not do this the rest of my life, don't even start it. Anything extreme, you don't need to be extreme. um I think recently I've also been seeing a lot of like gym content, but not just like gym content, like guys in the gym, like making like advice to guys, and like talking about it's calories in, it's calories out. That is all that matters. Like calories, calories, calories. And as a female, um, that's not how it works for our
Don't
bodies.
listen.
So don't listen. It is unfortunately it would be again so easy if it was just calories in, calories out. Um, for a woman, that's just unfortunately not the case for us. And our hormones and stress actually play a much bigger role than calories.
Yes, I would also say too, like if you're looking for like nutrition or weight stuff or workouts, just find a creator that looks like you. Like then you can at least get some pretty like a lot you can get a lot closer advice as to what could work for you
I
than
like that.
like anybody else.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. No, it is so true, because there are so many, you know, with PCOS or hypothyroidism or different hormone conditions, like your body is going to be different. And there are so many, like even female creators I follow who just don't have these underlying conditions and sell like workout programs and all this stuff, like, which is great. My body's never going to look like that ever, even if I do your workout program, like we're not starting from the same place. And yeah, or a guy at a gym. Yeah, my body's not yours either. I like that advice a lot. Of
Yeah,
like finding someone
I'm
who
like, I always just tell people that. I'm like, just stick to that. It'll be so much easier. It may not be verbatim, but it's definitely going to be closer.
I like that. I like
Okay, two more questions. Something that your own doctor told you that turned out to be wrong for you.
that. Ooh. Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, when I was in high school, I was going to doctors like every other week trying to feel better. And they just kept like raising my thyroid medicine, telling me to go on birth control. And that's it. Like that was their only advice. And I didn't even get my PCOS diagnosis for years, when I had every sign in my lab work, ovarian cysts every month. And they're like, oh, it's IBS. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So I think them them telling me, oh, it's just IBS. Oh, nothing's wrong. Oh, let's just put a Band-Aid over your symptoms when you're like 14, 15 years old. And, oh, yeah, also, we said this already, but this is normal to feel like this. No, it's not. That was wrong.
No, it's not. Okay, one last question. The one thing you tell your younger self about your body.
Ooh, I really like that. Um, our body, our body's not the enemy. We are in our body, and giving it so much understanding. Like, I wish I did more of that. I think I really tried to fight my body for a long time. I was mad at the symptoms. I was mad how it looked. I was mad how it felt. I felt so disconnected from it that I was angry at my body. But we are in this body for so many years, and use the signs it gives you as tools and clues. Like, it's if your body could talk to you. So if you're craving things, or if you're having symptoms or pain, different, whatever, that's your body trying to tell you something. So rather than getting mad at it, leaning in to try to listen to what it's telling you, because it's probably telling you something very vital that you can adjust and then feel good. So yeah, I think it really is tuning into your body and like just giving it so much love. Like, our body does so much for us, and I know we hear that and it like sounds like yeah, but if you actually step back and think about like everything it does every single day for us, every single function, it does make it a little bit easier to be like, okay, like, thank you. Like, you're not that bad. How can I support you now, you know?
Definitely. I think that's something I've learned too as I'm like getting older. I'm like, "Oh, I should be working with my body. It's not something that I'm working against." Okay. Where can people find you and follow you? Where can they get the book? All of the above.
Yes. On Instagram, I'm Paige.Lindgren. TikTok, just Paige Lindgren. On YouTube too. And then you can get the book Sink and Savor on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere you can honestly get a book online. Sink and Savor. It's available almost every bookstore, I think. And then I also have a Substack, which is a weekly newsletter I do, where I really do deep dive a lot more into hormone health and recipes, and chat a lot longer on there. Instagram's like short form. I love like the longer writing newsletter stuff. So my Substack is called Back to Balance.
Love. Paige, thank you so much for joining us. That was like so insightful. Definitely learned some things that I myself are going to implement. And yeah, everybody go out and grab the book if you're interested. If not, then I would say go follow Paige, because I did a nice little dive through all of her socials and lots of yummy recipes, lots of tips. So you're going to definitely be supported in that arena as well. Slay Nation, as always, thank you so much for listening. Paige, thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next time.